Hi everyone, it's Lin Bouthillier from linbouthillier.com. I'm a certified trauma recovery coach and I'd like to welcome you to another episode of my ongoing series entitled Monogamous at 13. Today I am discussing a, a topic that it can be a little bit confusing for people. I'm speaking today about a personality trait. It's not a diagnosable thing, but it's a personality trait that is referred to as Machiavellianism. And because it has kind of a goofy name, I'd like to get into it a little bit today to give you some clarification on what it is and how it relates to narcissistic abuse, how it relates to, in some cases, domestic violence and intimate partner violence. And the article that I'm sharing with you today is from Men's Health magazine. It's an online magazine, and it's the article is entitled "Signs You're in a Relationship with a Machiavellian Type." Now, the reason that I'm sharing this article is because I wanted to do a little bit more in-depth discussion with you after sharing the article to help you understand what examples of Machiavellian behavior look like in a relationship. Can be any kind of relationship, and what we can do about it and how we can protect ourselves, what type of self-care we can use to be able to um, either get out of the relationship I'm referring to, or if we choose to stay in the relationship, to stay in it in the healthiest way possible, with full understanding of exactly what it is that we're involved with, what kind of behaviors we're involved with, what type of behaviors to watch for, and what ways this person could absolutely not mind harming another person at all. All right, so here we go. I'm just going to get started with the article. So, oh yes, before I forget, please ground yourself. Please step away from this video if you feel at any time you're being activated into a fight, flight, freeze, or fawn response to trauma. If you feel that you're being triggered, please shut off the video and leave it for somebody else and go into your highest, best self-care. It's always, always, always the plan when you're watching my videos. All right, so here we go. Signs you're in a relationship with a Machiavellian type. Relationships with Machiavellian personalities can be dysfunctional. At first, you might feel like you've found your dream partner, but then they become colder and more manipulative over time. So here's what to look for. Sign number one, they're competitive and obsessed with power. Competitiveness isn't a bad thing, but when your partner is so fixated on winning all the time and expects you to constantly contribute to their success and questions your loyalty when you don't, it's problematic, Kowalski says. Machiavellian personalities view relationships as a way to gain and maintain power. They're not usually capable of performing meaningful bonds. That last part is super important. They're not usually capable of forming meaningful bonds, which means if you're in a relationship with one of them, you're going to be doing your utmost to have the highest quality of bonds with them in the relationship, and they're going to bond with you the way they bond with their chewing gum. All right, so number two is they say one thing and do something else. Relationships with Machiavellians can be confusing. Your partner might be full of compliments on one hand, but cold and emotionless on the other. You'll start to realize you truly don't know who they are because they'll say one thing and do something different. This is Kowalski says, you'll start to feel like you're missing something. That is absolutely the truth. This is especially true when you ask them to make a commitment to do something or to not do something. And my experience with people with Machiavellian type personality are that they will, if you say, I would really appreciate it if you would never do this thing because I would find that intolerable in a relationship. So I'm just asking you, making my needs known, please don't do that. And they say, okay, I will never do that. And then it might be literal years later when you find out that they've been doing that very thing that you asked them not to do, almost since the day you asked them not to ever do it. It's almost like that's just too rich of a thing to leverage against you for them to just leave it alone. They have to start up something and they absolutely love the secret keeping involved with it. Okay, so number 3 is they'll do whatever they have to get what they want. People with Machiavellian personalities have no qualms about using their partners or going to any means necessary to achieve their goals. They'll manipulate you into being who they need in the relationship, Kowalski says. They might even use information that they know about you against you, then minimize their actions, which will make you feel like it was your fault somehow. They're master gaslighters. All right, this is where the smear campaign thing comes into focus. Okay, they'll do whatever they have to get what they want, was number 3. And that means they will go to anybody in your life, whether they are currently in relationship with you or formerly in relationship with you, or even somebody that you could be getting to know in the future. If they can reach their arm across the room and put it into your pie, they're going to do it. And Richard Grannon has a wonderful expression for this. They have an incredibly long telescoping straw with which they will extend it possibly miles in order to drink your milkshake. That's one of his expressions, and I love that. It just means that they will do things, they will take actions against you, and it doesn't matter what you want or what you need or what your boundaries are. They're going to still do it anyways because they can and they will. If it serves them, then it's perfectly cool, no problem whatsoever. Number 4 is they're unemotional. Your relationship likely won't feel very deep, or at least on their end. Machiavellians lack empathy and are typically indifferent and detached. Cassine says their focus truly is using people to leverage themselves. I'll say that again. Their focus truly is using people to leverage themselves. A person with these personality traits has a preference for emotionally detached relationships and doesn't desire to form healthy bonds with others. One statement that's missing from this, and I don't mean to be critical, because that's not how I mean this at all, but it's just not in this statement. But I will take it one step further and say that they don't desire to form healthy bonds with others, but they are expert at faking it. Some of them absolutely know how to mimic a healthy bond, but there's absolutely nothing genuine about it. And oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes, by the time the person that they're faking a bond with figures out, this is all smoke and mirrors, there's no substance here, there is no bond, they don't have any loyalty or connection with me, or a true, what's the best word for it? An alliance with me as their partner. They don't make solid alliances with anybody that are meaningful, meaning they're copacetic. It's good for you, it's good for me. This is a really beneficial thing for both of us. No, what you will experience is it's everything for them and nothing for you. But they will fake it. So you'll be tricked. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. It means there's something wrong with them. Number 5 is they're selfish. All the early on compliments feel nice, but you realize how surface level the relationship is once you need support. Kowalski says they're not there for you. You'll find this type of partner incredibly selfish, and they may even feel like you are part of a bigger ploy to help them get ahead. That is absolutely true. And when I'm done reading through all of these, I'm going to go back through each one and give really clear examples of them. Okay, things that will really illustrate what these traits look like in real life. Number 6 is they're bullies. Control is a common tactic for Machiavellian personalities, and they may resort to bullying to manipulate you into doing what serves them. What best serves them is how it reads here. Bullying may also come up if you try to leave the relationship, Kowalski says. They believe they are the best person on the planet, so you will never meet anyone as good as them ever again, and they will make it quite clear to you. So they don't consider you in a relationship with them. They relegate you to being something like their luggage, their vehicle, their shoes. their clothing, their food, their house, their apartment, the fixtures that they use every day, such as faucets, showers, toilets, things like that, washing machines, dryers. It's almost like you've been absorbed into their collection of appliances, fixtures, vehicles, um, possessions, all the things that they possess. And then they control you because um, when we get into our vehicle, we don't have a relationship with our vehicle. We control the vehicle. We operate the vehicle, and that's very much how they consider a person that they are in a relationship with. Very, very much like you. They're not relating with you. They're driving you, is how they see it. Um, and so the remainder of the article has a couple important points in it. The next one is how to cope with a relationship with a Machiavellian personality. If you feel like you're being manipulated or deceived by your partner, you probably are, and you really only have two options. Cassine explains: leave or set clear boundaries. Those are the two options. You can leave, or you can set clear boundaries. But boundary setting may be easier said than done. Someone with a Machiavellian personality is not going to admit their mistakes or take accountability. Kowalski says it's more common that they will try to further manipulate you into believing that you have created this whole thing in your mind. Setting boundaries with Machiavellian partner might involve: number one, focusing on your own goals; number two, cutting your reliance on them; number three, practicing self-care; number four, staying on good terms with the partner; number five, trusting the opinions and perspectives of people outside of your relationship; and number six, trying to see the facts of the relationship. If your boundaries aren't respected, Kowalski says, ending the relationship might be best for you. To them, the means justify the ends, so if you're in the way, they will not spend any time considering your feelings. You might feel deceived, confused, or doubt your own judgment. Kowalski says it's important to grieve the relationship and talk to a mental health professional if you need extra support, but avoid going back or if you risk repeating the cycle. And I'll just pause here to say, working with a certified trauma recovery coach is an excellent way to go after a relationship with a Machiavellian personality, because there will be betrayal, there will be betrayal trauma, there will be some degree of emotional, psychological, verbal, and possibly even physical abuse. And it is a real good idea if you have left a relationship and it has been severely traumatizing. It's a real good idea to get some counseling from a domestic violence counselor, because domestic violence does not always have to involve physical abuse, but Machiavellian people are absolutely champion verbal, emotional, and psychological abusers. They can be physical and financial and legal abusers as well, spiritual abusers, sexual abusers, every form of abuse that a person can experience. All right, so this article was written by Erica Sweeney, and again, the article is at Men's Health, and the article is once again entitled "What Exactly Is," excuse me, that's not the name, that's not the title, I'm so sorry. 6 Signs You're in a Relationship with a Machiavellian Personality. Okay. So now I'm going to go through each one of the 6 signs and just give you examples, real life examples of what those what each of the signs can look like in real life. So the first one was they're competitive and obsessed with power. They love to deny you what you need. If you're in a relationship with one, and I'm going to say that my marriage was with a person who was a Machiavellian type personality, but that wasn't the only. They were what we call comorbid. They had multiple different personality traits that are make up something called the dark quad. And so there's you may have heard of the dark triad, which means a person who has narcissistic traits, antisocial traits, and Machiavellian traits. But the dark quad is when you also add in sadistic traits as well. Okay? And the person that I was in relationship with for many, many years, starting at age 13, was could easily be, if they were diagnosed, if a person were to actually um, have diagnosing credentials and sit with them and ask them all of the questions and make their determination, they would probably be able to um, diagnose this person as having a dark quad personality type. But we're just focusing today on the Machiavellian traits. But number one here in the article is that they're competitive and obsessed with power. They love, 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 love to have power and control. And when you have power and control issues in a relationship, it can look like so many different things. But I'll give you an example. One could be, and this did not happen to me, but this is one that's very common, is where they'll put a GPS on your car. Another one is where they don't allow you to leave the house, have a job, have your own bank accounts, have a checkbook. Um, just really, really, really strict, tight control. And the part about being competitive is it can also be, it might not necessarily be noticeable competition with you, but if you're a woman and you're in a relationship with a man and he has high Machiavellian traits, if you go out to dinner with this person, if they decide, if the person with the Machiavellian traits, your partner, decides that they think that the server who has just come to your table is an attractive man, they will immediately feel competitive with that person, because in their mind, they might make the assumption you're all of a sudden now attracted to that person, and that you might be making a decision of who's more attractive, them or the server. And so they're going to start to be real snippy with the server because they feel competitive towards him for your attention. They want to reassure themselves. They kind of have to puff themselves up to reaffirm that I am better than that person who is the server. And so I have to act that way to get my partner to feel deference towards me rather than them. And all of this competition doesn't even exist. In reality, it does not exist. Because if you're there on a date with your partner or your spouse and the server comes to the table, most of us aren't looking at that server as a potential partner or sexual partner. We're just wanting to have a menu and to say hello and to hear what the specials are and to have a drink brought to the table. They're there to do their job, and they're not there to be a potential suitor. But the person with Machiavellian traits is going to be uncomfortable in that situation because they are that competitive. And most people think of competitiveness as going to be brought out through playing a game, like a table game, or playing poker, or playing Monopoly or something like that. That's not the only way these people are competitive. They're not only just competitive in sports. They're competitive against other human beings just for the fact that they exist. And so, well, I'm just going to move on from this one now. So I could spend all day on that one. But okay, so number two is they say one thing and they do something else. Classic example that I've given in so many of my videos. I'm going to use it again here. Okay, when from my personal life, when I said, we're going through a breakup now, and it's after over 40 years of being together since age 13, and I had a couple of requests when we were splitting up. So we're kind of laying the ground rules for how this breakup is going to go, because we do have adult children, and I wanted to just make it so that they don't get hurt in this process. So I said, here are my boundaries for this breakup. We do not get this all over the kids. So when you're with the kids or anybody else, I would appreciate it so much if you would not speak about me by name or pronoun unless I am in your presence. If you have something to say about me, say it in my presence so I can at least hear it, know it, and defend myself. But please don't go to other people and speak about me by name or pronoun, because that's just fighting dirty. And I'm not doing that to you. I am not doing that to you to smear you to everybody in your community. I do speak about this stuff for teaching purposes in my videos, but I'm not saying the name. I'm not giving any indication of who this individual is. And so when I speak about that, it is for a completely different purpose. But what I'm referring to is, please don't be going to my family members, my children, my neighbors, my former coworkers, my my friends, my former friends, things like that. Please don't be doing that, because that is just playing dirty. Don't do it. And the other one was, do not, under any circumstances, while we're having our arguments through text and email, do not send those communications out to anyone. Do not forward them to anyone. Those are private marital discussions. And they're the discussions going on during a breakup. They are not for public consumption. And what happened was, I said numerous times, you're not sending my texts out to anybody, right? I'm just making sure. And I got the reassurance, no, I would never do that. I won't do that. I promised you I wouldn't do that, and I won't do it. And what do you think was happening? Yes, of course. He was sending them out to my siblings spouses, to multiple different people, sending them to my children, sending them to my children's significant others, sending them to his friends, sending them to his coworkers, sending them to neighbors, sending them to anybody who he wanted to have them. I'm sure most of these people were looking at them and thinking, what are you doing? Why do you think I want to look at this? That's your breakup. What does this have to do with me? But because they will say one thing and do something else, they don't do that just a little bit at a time. They can do that to the extreme, telling you, no, I promise I won't do that. And behind your back, they're going to be doing that. And I've had people say to me, why did you even ask somebody like that not to do that? Because you planted the seed. Well, that's a little bit of victim shaming, I can tell you right there. It really, truly is. Why would you ever do that? Because you know they're just going to turn around and do it. Well, no, I didn't know that. I had a suspicion that they might do that, but I didn't know it. At that time, I didn't even know what Machiavellian traits were. I really, truly did not know. So there's no way I could have protected myself. Same way you couldn't have protected yourself if you didn't know. And right now you're in the process of finding out more, which is great, which arms you with a little bit of protection so that you can go forward in your life knowing some basic information about these individuals so that you can stay one step ahead of it and you can practice really excellent self-care. All right, so the next one is they will do whatever they have to get. Sorry about that. They'll do whatever they have to get what they want. This one is so disturbing because most of us have inner guardrails, which we call healthy shame, which keeps us from doing despicable and vile things to other people. But a person with high Machiavellian traits doesn't have those boundaries, and they don't have any guiding set of principles that make it so that they will not do the despicable things that most people who are love, light, truth, compassion, and human decency would not do. In other words, they don't have a conscience or much of a conscience. So when they do whatever they have to get what they want, I'm going to give you an example from when I had I was pregnant for the first time. I was carrying my son, and this is in 1990. And my husband's parents were still Catholic, and I was raised Catholic. My husband was loosely raised Catholic, but he was never taken regularly to church. He had to go to catechism, or what they called Sunday school, but he was never, it was never a very enriched into his life. It was not something that he embraced very strongly. because his father was a regular churchgoer, but didn't even talk about God in the home. Didn't even pray ever in front of his kids or in front of his wife. He just went to church automatically every Sunday and was an usher, but he did not have a religious life inside of his home with his family, and neither did the mother. And so this is something that I thought was just absolutely ridiculous, is that I got told, not by him and her, but just her, when the baby is born, the baby will be baptized Catholic, right? And I said, no, I'm not Catholic anymore. I left the church years ago, and I'm not Catholic. And, you know, your son doesn't go to church. He doesn't identify strongly as a Catholic. And we made the decision that we were not going to raise the children in the Catholic faith. And she said, but you're both baptized Catholics and you have to. And I said, no, we don't have to. You are mistaken. And I was keeping it conversational, and she said, well, we'll see about that, which was a threatening tone. People who are Machiavellian types, they will say that expression a lot. Yeah, well, we'll see about that, because that means I control you, and I'm going to control what happens in your future, whether you like it or not. So here's what happened. Fast forward to right at the end of my pregnancy. It was sometime in July or August. The baby was born in October, but I was not at the very beginning of the pregnancy anymore. But she had called me up, and my mother-in-law, and asked me to go to a couple of garage sales in the neighborhood with her. And I said, okay. So I met her at her home, and she insisted that she was going to drive. And we're driving down the road, and we had just finished going to the first garage sale. And we were on the way to the second one, and we're in the car, and we come up to a stop sign. And while she's waiting for a car to pass, she says to me, referring to the baby that was inside of my body, said, that baby is going to be Catholic, I hope you know. And I said, well, we've already had this discussion, and I've already said what I had to say about it. And I would appreciate it if you would accept that our decision has been made about our own child's religion. And this is what I heard. This is what was told to me. Well, we have ways of getting around you. If you're going to be obstinate, meaning if you're not going to come along with what we demand of you, then we're just going to do it behind your back. So this is a heads up. I'm just letting you know that we are going to have your child baptized. You are going back to work, right? And I said, yeah, I have to go back to work. And she said, that's no problem. While we're babysitting the child, we'll just take the child to church and have him baptized, and you'll never know. That is Machiavellian traits. Very, very high, strong, noticeable, miserable, life-interfering Machiavellian traits. And so any person who would deign to take someone else's child and have them baptized or in any other way initiated into a religion which the parents have clearly said, we are never going to be participants in that religion again. We're not initiating our children into that religion. Any person who would take your child behind your back and threaten you that that's okay, we're just going to do it when you won't know. That's all. We're going to do this. We're getting our own way on this. That is a really, really, really prime example of Machiavellian traits. Okay? And in case you are wondering, that individual, I never was told that they did that, but I made my decision a few days after that, talked about it with my spouse, and I made my own personal decision that whether she did that or not, even there's no way for me to know if they did that. They would never tell me, and if it did happen, I'm still not going to do anything that they want me to do. It is not going to happen. And so, but I did make the decision that if I found out that they did go ahead and do that anyways, that the first thing I would have done would be to contact an attorney and find out what can be done about it. So the number 4 is they're unemotional. There's an old expression, and it's used for people who have psychopathic traits. not necessarily Machiavellian traits, but I feel that strongly that it applies, and that is that they know how to whistle the tune, but they don't know the words. And what that means is they can assimilate into society pretending to behave like everybody else, like the people who do have emotion, and the people who do have empathy, and the people who do have conscience. They know the pretty words to say, and they say them. They simply don't mean them. And another way of knowing that they're unemotional is something called flat affect. When it's one of those really big moments where it's super emotional and you're at a wedding, they're going to be the person who doesn't have the lump in their throat. They're going to be the person who's looking at their watch instead of, you know, taking their hanky and dabbing their eyes because their tears are welling up. They're just not emotionally invested in much of anything. The times that they will absolutely wail and cry and act as if the whole world is coming to an end is if somebody harms them. So if they're harming you, or if somebody else is harming you right in front of them, it's NFGs, no emotion. They're not going to come to your aid. They're not going to stand up for you. They're not going to intervene on your behalf. They're going to act like they can't see it, they can't hear it, and it's really no big deal. If you confront them about that after the fact, they're going to say, why are you always making everything into such a big deal? Why are you so over emotional? So, okay, number 5 is they're selfish. Classic example is you can tell if a person is truly selfish by where their chair is located in the main room of the house. If they're the most selfish person in the household, the chair that they claim as theirs and nobody else gets to sit in it is going to be directly across from the television. Or it's going to have some amenity in the household that they appreciate very much, that they consider to be there just for them. That's where their spot is going to be. They're going to have the most comfortable seat in the house. They're going to have the preferred spot at the table. They're going to always have the view seat in a restaurant. They're always going to get the window seat on a plane. And I loved the movie. Oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the name of the movie. It's Drew Barrymore and Adam Sandler, and it's The Wedding Singer, and the scene where her fiance, who was absolutely had Machiavellian traits, he didn't care whether or not she could see out the window of the airplane. He was just completely, overruling her on that and relegating her to, you're the secondary person. I get the window seat. I'm the person who's worthy of getting to see everything that's cool out there. You don't get to see that. And I was with a person who was exactly like that. Those of us who watched that movie saw that scene and went, oh, that's my partner. That happens to me. And we wouldn't do it to other people. We walked into a restaurant one time and I was told, you will always sit with your back to the room. I will always have the seat where I can see everything. That's just the way it is. And I stayed because I was trauma bonded. And it's very, very easy to be trauma bonded to a Machiavellian type, but I can make a different video about that sometime. Number 6 is they're bullies. This is one that this is not the easiest thing to speak about, but some of you will know exactly what I'm speaking about. These are the people who love to threaten you that if you ever have a relationship with another person, I will kill that person. I heard that for about 40 years. If you ever get divorced from me, if we are legally separated or if we have a final divorce decree, if you date somebody else, if you marry somebody else, I will drop that person. I will end them. They will hit the ground before they hear the shot. And this was not said tongue in cheek. It was not a joke. It was not a lighthearted moment. It was me being informed of exactly what will happen if I displease them, even after we're divorced. It's that, sorry, that person's going to have to go. They're going to have to suffer the consequences, and so will you, because I can't relate to people in a healthy way. I can only do it by threatening and bullying. This is a really important part to understand. We think of bullies as the bully on the school bus or the playground who's punching people, kicking people, hitting people with things. Just always physical, lots of pushing and shoving and name calling and all that stuff. Not all bullies are physical. A lot of them threaten you with, if you do that to me, I'm going to hurt that person over there, and you're going to be responsible for the harm that came to them. It's one of their favorite threats. And so another way that a bully can hurt you, though, is through neglect. It is absolutely part of bullying, is to be in a committed relationship with a person, and then every single time they have a medical need, an emotional need, some sort of relational need, to deny them that need that they are making known. And to do that to somebody over and over and over and over and over again is to bully them into submission. It's to make it so that you become real quiet and real still, real silent, and you become a needless person. That's how they bully you emotionally and psychologically, is to make it so that you are needless. Because if you don't have any needs for them to fulfill, then touchdown. They're doing great. They consider that to be just fantastic. Like they won. Again, going back to number one on the list is they're competitive. Okay? They're competitive and obsessed with power. That takes you, a lot of these are linking. Number 1 through 6 are linking. So number 6 just linked back to number 1 because they're bullies. And why are they bullies? Because they're competitive with you. They don't want you to have anything that they feel should be just for them. So another thing that, about neglect being a form of bullying. I had an experience where, with my partner, I wasn't really allowed to have any cash. I wasn't working at the time. I was a stay-at-home mother. And other than for groceries and gas, if I had to go pay a bill, I wasn't given cash. And if I had a need for money, I had to go to this person and ask them for money, which could be vetoed. It could be turned down. Or it'd be like, what do you need that for? And then tell them, well, do you really need that? Do we really have to have that right now? But at the same time, they're going and spending ridiculously on things that you'll never even hear about, and you don't even get a say. Like, you are not consulted about major purchases. But an example of the bullying by neglect that a Machiavellian person might do is, this is what happened to me. We had 2 small children. One was still in a stroller. I was told, hey, I got tickets to go to the county fair. Would you like to go? Yes, that'd be fantastic. Okay, so we're going to go this Saturday. Great. So we get to the fair, and we've been walking around for a while, and everybody's getting kind of hungry. And I had snacks like cereal and, a little bit of fruit and stuff, and, water and drinks, juice boxes for the kids and stuff. But I didn't plan on having, a picnic meal that I packed and brought. So I just assumed that we were going to be having a light lunch or dinner at the fair. And my spouse went up to a stand and got food for himself and sat down and proceeded to eat that food with me and the children watching, and he offered us nothing. This is a type of bullying that a Machiavellian person will do. And if you say to them, are you going to get something for us to eat too? And they might say, my God, you have to make everything about you? Really? I can't have just one thing at the fair without you guys giving me a hard time about this? That they will twist things and make it a mind game for you. And it's just really uncomfortable. And what it does is that it really, really triggers your childhood trauma of having, if you had been abused in any way by a parent, you really feel it from that. And if you, anything that's connected, food is heavily, heavily, heavily connected to, food is survival. It's not just connected to survival, it is the equivalent of survival. And so anytime they get you to the point of being hungry, and they take you to a place where there's food all over the place. You smell the wonderful smells at a fair of food being cooked everywhere. It really triggers your appetite. Even for children and for babies, it does. And very much so, just like it does for us, for the adults. But when you have that happening, that person now is going to withhold food from you now that they've brought you to a place, and all of these activities and actions that you've been involved in all day, and the sensory overload is really triggering your hunger to feed only their self and make you watch while they do it, is just an insult. It's an insult to your humanity. It's an insult to everything that a human being stands for. So that is how severely a person with Machiavellian traits will go, that is how intensely they will go out of their way to show you that they do not value you. You don't matter to them at all, but they will swear up and down to you the moment that you say, well, apparently I don't matter to you. They'll say, oh my God, yes you do. Come on, I've been with you for this number of years. That right there proves that I care about you, right? No, it does not. Just staying together, that doesn't prove anything. But this video has run a little bit longer than I expected for it to go. But if you have enjoyed this information, if you find the information in my videos helpful, I would love it so much if you would like, subscribe, share, put comments in the comment section, and comment on other people's comments in the comment section, because that really, really helps the algorithm to boost my rankings in YouTube. And I just wanted to say, as an aside note, I'm really glad to be back. I've been a student for almost a year, and yesterday I graduated from the school program that I was in. I was in an accelerated program to become a hypnotherapist. And as of yesterday at 7 p.m., I am now a certified hypnotherapist and RTT practitioner. So I could not be more pleased and proud to tell you that my program, sorry about that, my alarm went off. My program ended and I graduated successfully, and I am delighted to be able to offer a new service to my viewers and to my certified trauma recovery coaching clients. So if you're interested in hearing more at any time about how hypnotherapy can help you to recover, it is excellent for trauma survivors, but it is also excellent for individual issues that a person may have, such as insomnia or anxiety, depression, procrastination, nail biting, stage fright, performance anxiety. The list just goes on and on and on and on. If you can think of it, if it is problematic in your life, it can be helped with rapid transformational therapy, which is also known as hypnotherapy. So I am so happy to be able to offer that to all of you. So if you're interested in reaching out for information from me, to work with me as a certified trauma recovery coach to help you to live the life that you would love to live, free of the constraints of your trauma, you can reach out to me at linbouthillier.com. You can find me, you can email me at lin@linbouthillier.com. My phone number is 716-994-3052. You can have, just text me or leave me a message. You can request at any time, you can request to have a discovery call with me. This discovery call is well under an hour, and usually they're anywhere from like 25 to 30 minutes. And I answer your questions about certified trauma recovery coaching, and now I can answer your questions about working with a hypnotherapist as well. And I work on Zoom, and I do in-person work. And so I would be just delighted to hear from you. So I hope you all have the very best day. Please take the best care of yourselves. Really, really get into that wonderful, good, enriching self-care. There's nothing better we can do for ourselves than our wonderful, fantastic self-care. And I want to just make sure that all of you know this is really important, that you are absolutely worthy of your own trauma recovery. And that bears repeating a second time. You are worthy of your own trauma recovery. So I will see you in the next one. Please leave me comments in the comments section. And if you have any questions, put those in the comments as well. I'll see you next time. Have the best day, everyone.